Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome. My name is Yusra Rasool and you're watching Radio Lums. आज की एपिसोड हम दोबारा यूनिलीवर की टीम के साथ बैठे हैं. डिस्कशन थोड़ी डिफरेंट है. हम HR की डिपार्टमेंट, ER की डिपार्टमेंट में बात करेंगे और आज मेरे साथ बैठी हैं हमना एंड जोहा फ्रॉम द यूनिलीवर टीम. हेलो हमना. हेलो जोहा. हाउ आर यू?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, I'm good. I feel a little weird because mostly we're on the other side of the interview.
Fair
but
enough.
Let's see how this goes.
Well, I hope you have a good time. But Zoha and Hamna both, can you introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about yourselves, your education, just your background, how you got into Unilever. So,
Well, my name is Amna Khan. I'm from Lahore. I did my O-levels and A-levels and then I joined LUMS, did my bachelor's in economics. Then afterwards, so I was the COVID graduate. We were the unfortunate batch. Yeah. So afterwards, I was lucky enough to get a position in PepsiCo. I worked there for almost 2 years. It was a factory role. And then I got an opportunity to join one of the factories of Unilever. And I am serving as the HR business partner for Foods Factory, essentially supply chain.
perfect. And Zoha, what about you?
I'm Zoha. I partner the Walls Ice Cream Factory from HR. I'm originally from Karachi. So 23 years out of 24 years almost, I've spent in Karachi, my school, my college, my university, everything. And as opposed to what Yusra thought about us earlier, I'm a graduate of 2022. Can we share this with everyone?
Sure.
That when we told her that we are the HR managers for factory, she assumed that we would be boomers or millennials. But we're
मैंने
not.
तो millennials कहा था.
Yeah,
boomers से stretch कर रही हो.
But so yeah, it's been 4 months since I'm in Lahore and since I've been in this role as the HR manager for Walls Ice Cream Factory.
Interesting. Hamna, you mentioned कि आपने factory role किया था, right?
Yeah.
So what is that? And also, how did you decide to opt for a factory role right after graduation?
Acha, honestly, it wasn't like a conscious choice. As any other graduate, I was just looking for a job. So जहाँ पे भी लिखा होता था looking for a job, we're looking for somebody for this particular position, I'd just apply. So PepsiCo happened like that. It was a Facebook group, people of IB and LUMS, in which somebody had posted about this position, and I just applied because I was applying to all the positions, right, that was there in the job market. And I got in, and it was a factory role. I didn't make a very conscious choice. And then when I entered through PepsiCo, मुझे पता था कि मैंने फैक्ट्री रोल्स को जितना मैं एक्सप्लोर कर सकती हूँ because I had the bandwidth also, मैं उतना एक्सप्लोर करूँगी.
Similar question for you, Zoha, as well. How did you decide to opt for Unilever HR right after graduation, right? And then you moved to ER, right? So how did you decide that? What was your thought process like?
I interned in Unilever. Then I graduated fresh out of college. I came in as a management trainee. And a lot similar to what Hamna said, HR के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता था. HR का बस ये पता था कि hiring करते हैं, firing करते हैं. But after I came in as a management trainee, then of course the experience became a lot more deep and vast. I initially was partnering sales from HR as my first rotation. Then I worked in the employer branding team for 2 flagship programs, Unilever Talent Hunt and Unilever Leadership Internship and Future Leader Program. And then I came to ER. And again, ER was not a choice. It was part of my rotations. It was part of the plan as a management trainee. But sticking to ER is something which I would say is a choice. And yeah.
You said HR में लोग समझते हैं कि hiring and firing है. तो HR really है क्या? हम यही समझते हैं कि it's like dealing with people and all of that stuff. लेकिन in depth जब आप as a HR department में काम कर रहे हैं, तो what are you really doing?
HR is no longer, I would say, have you watched Office?
No.
HR is no longer Toby from The Office. For those who have seen that, he would come out of his corporate cubicle once in a while to fire and hire people. HR is more than that. I think HR operates in a much similar way as a leader does. So it's very similar to the leadership. People management is what we do, right? Sure, I don't have consolidated sales targets or overall company cost is not my worry, but I look after the function which is basically dealing and empowering the most critical resource of an organization, uske log. right? So when you walk in, you probably know the what part of it. The business tells you the what part of it, but HR enables the how part of it, right? How am I enjoying my work? Do I like what I do? Do I have the right tools to do what I'm doing? So capability, so engagement, and then compensating those resources rightly so I can retain them, right? So HR operates in a close proximity to the business. एक ये भी एक myth है, which I would like to break here, कि HR does not know about the business or it's operating in a silo. Probably it used to, but now the perception is a lot more mature than that. For HR professionals as well as for the business, how business perceives HR to be, HR has to work in very well integration with the business, right? Because those resources, how am I mobilizing them, optimizing them, developing them, right, to eventually achieve those business goals. So yeah, that's what HR does, not just firing and hiring. वो भी होती है, बहुत बड़ा part है HR का, but that's not just it.
ओके हम ना जोहा ने इतनी दफ़ा ER मेंशन किया है, और मुझे याद है हमारी बात भी जब हो रही थी पहले, तो द वर्ड ER केप्ट ऑन पॉपिंग अप, और मैं सोच रही थी ये ER है क्या. तो वुड यू लाइक टू टेल आवर व्यूअर्स, बिकॉज आई एम प्रीटी श्योर वो भी मेरी तरह बहुत कंफ्यूज्ड होंगे कि ये ER क्या चीज़ है और क्यों बार बार इसे बोला जा रहा है. जब HR एग्जिस्ट करता है तो फिर AR क्या है, एंड व्हाई इज इट नेसेसरी?
Yeah, of course. So ER, I'll just like to tell you the full form. It's employee relations. So what Zoha has just mentioned, ER is all of that for our blue collar workers. Unilever just does not take responsibility for its white collar management employees, but also for blue collar employees. So blue collar workers की जब आप बात करते हैं उनकी training and capability की, उनकी engagement की, उनकी compensation की, all of that, ठीक है, वो सब ER का पार्ट होता है.
जब हम ER का सुनते हैं, आई रिमेंबर व्हेन आई हर्ड अबाउट इट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, तो आई वाज लाइक अच्छा ये भी एक चीज़ है, इट्स नॉट ओनली लाइक HR. सो आई वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टेड एंड इंट्रीग्ड बाय इट, एंड आई जस्ट वांट टू नो कि लाइक व्हाट एक्साइट्स यू गाइज टुडे अबाउट वर्किंग इन ER, स्पेशली बिकॉज ER आप लोगों ने बोला कि यू आर वर्किंग विद ब्लू कॉलर एम्प्लॉईज, तो आई एम अज्यूमिंग कि ER is in factories. So what excites you about that? And like just getting up and going to the office and working, I think is something that I would really like to know about.
Like I said in the beginning, it wasn't a choice, right? It was part of the plan. It was part of the management trainee plan. But staying in ER today is my choice. And the reason for that is the kind of empowerment that it brings to you. I don't think there's any other role of HR or any other role in general for an early graduate where someone as fresh as Hamna, who's a 2021 graduate, or myself, who's a 2022 graduate, can take on leadership that way. When I first came to the factory का एक perception exist करता है कि आप factory जाके काम करें, खातून factory जाके काम कर रही हैं. So I had my concerns, and when I walked in the first day, the table was full of men, and और वो जो उनका जो तजुर्बा था वो मेरी उम्र से भी ज़्यादा था, and to secure that place on the table itself is empowering, because you want that voice to be there, the female voice to be there, and then it teaches you things on a very ground reality basis. It teaches you change management. People have been in the system for more than 20-25 years. How do you change their mindset? Yeah. How do you bring in anything, starting from digital to the fact that they accept somebody as young as me to negotiate things with them. So I think these kind of things only ER teaches you. And for the blue collar staff, like Hamna said, I am the face of HR to them. So I am their capability lead. I am their talent acquisition partner. I am the one who they're going to come to for any complaints. So I can safely say I'm running the entire people agenda for the factory. And that in itself is so empowering, right? So I think in my case, it would be the way it has taught me leadership so early on in my career, and the empowerment that has been brought through this role.
So building on what Zoha said, it's a very empowering role, I'd say. And so in the beginning you asked, why did you enter factories? How was that? How did you make that choice? मेरे लिए honestly, factory का role start करना initially wasn't like a conscious choice, but ER का role लेना, it was a conscious decision, because I knew that I wanted to create a niche for myself. Or in order to create that niche in HR specifically, you have to do an ER role, honestly, because आपको business की ground realities like Zoha mentioned आपको नहीं पता चलती हैं, right? So in order to know everything, in order to also like really understand how business operations work, it's important for you to do an ER role.
Asha, so coming back to like a very serious conversation and also a conversation related to Unilever now, but Pakistan has been going through a very tough time, economic situation wise agar dekha jaye. So how is Unilever keeping up with the current economic turmoil situation, and how are the employees being impacted by it? Because it's a really difficult time for everyone, and surviving in this economy is as difficult as it gets. So how is Unilever making sure that it's there for its employees in tough times like these?
Okay, so I'll just touch upon one aspect of it. So for any organization, honestly, uska biggest asset jo hota hai uske people hote hain. And Unilever also realizes that very well. I'll just talk about the concept of fair living wage. So fair living wage, what do you think is fair living wage?
So jo minimum wage government ne declare ki hai.
Yeah, and what is that?
32,000.
Yeah, they recently revised it. Previously, I think just 2 months ago they revised it. Previously, it was 25,000.
Yeah.
Or honestly, if we talk about fair living wage or minimum wage for that matter, minimum wage 25,000 or 32,000, do you think किसी एक household का गुजारा हो सकता है?
Absolutely not. Which also brings me back to that Unilever वाला ad जो आप लोगों ने किया था, which was very interesting because it puts a lot of things into perspective also.
Yeah.
कि 32,000 में अगर आप necessities निकाल दें तो कितना मुश्किल है गुजारा करना.
Because that ad only talked about necessities.
Yeah.
So आप ऑनेस्टली ट्रेड ऑफ्स नहीं कर सकते नेसेसिटीज के बीच में. फेयर लिविंग वेज के कॉन्सेप्ट के बारे में मैं थोड़ी सी बात करना चाहूँगी. फेयर लिविंग वेज का कॉन्सेप्ट जो है ना, फेयर लिविंग वेज नेटवर्क एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है विच कैलकुलेट्स द कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग ऑफ एवरी सिटी. सो एक आपको एस्टिमेट देती है उसकी नेसेसिटीज साइड डाल के, ठीक है. सो उसमें डिफरेंट बकेट्स होती हैं. सो देयर इज एजुकेशन, देयर इज हेल्थ केयर एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. सो उसकी बकेट्स के अकॉर्डिंग एक आपका रफ एस्टिमेट एक वेज कैलकुलेट होती है विच इज द लिवेबल एज दैट्स अबव द मिनिमम वेज. और जो अभी पंजाब के लिए होगी दैट्स अराउंड 50-60,000. So honestly double अगर आप minimum wage को देखें तो वो double होती है. So Unilever has taken on its responsibility on this has taken this responsibility कि हम inshallah within next 3 years will be fully compliant with fair living wage का idea. And why do we think we want to work on that? Because again, like I mentioned, for any organization, the biggest asset is their people. So the concept of fair living wage is honestly at the heart of every employee who works in Unilever. Especially you must have seen Amir Paracha, who's the CEO for Unilever Pakistan, talk about this concept a lot because it's really close to his heart also. So fair living wage के अंदर what we're trying to do is कि we're trying कि हम अपने लोगों को एक ऐसी तनख्वाह दे सकें जिसमें गुजारा नहीं. सो तनख्वाह यूनिलीवर ऑल्सो टॉक्स अबाउट कि तनख्वाह गुजारे लायक नहीं, जीने लायक होनी चाहिए. सो इवन मिनिमम वेज में भी आपका गुजारा नहीं होता है. तो फेयर लिविंग वेज से हम आपकी ज़िंदगी जीने लायक बनाना चाहते हैं. So that's what we're trying to do in the current circumstances. Of course, it's a long journey, but we've taken a step forward, and we'd want कि और भी organizations ये realize करें and they embark on this journey with us.
Just to further build on well-being and financial well-being, which is more relevant today than it ever was in the past, inflation को consider करते हुए हमने एक non-monetary benefit भी unlock किया है, which we are super proud of, by the name of Roshan Mustaqbal, जिसके अंदर 100% factory staff for all 3 sites. हमारी 3 sites हैं, रहीमिया खान में 1 site है और लाहौर में 2 sites हैं, Walls and Foods Factory. उसके अंदर 100% factory staff और उनके बच्चे, उन सब की education from matriculation all the way to PhD. It's an education scholarship. So yes, and like Hamna said, इसमें again it took a lot of investment. Obviously there was an insane amount of investment that this took, but जब कोई वर्कर ये सोच के आए कि उसकी जो बच्चों की तालीम है या उसकी अपनी जो तालीम है वो कंपनी की जिम्मेदारी है, वो उसकी अपनी जिम्मेदारी, उसकी अपनी परेशानी नहीं है, द काइंड ऑफ ओनरशिप दे हैव फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जस्ट मल्टीप्लाइज. और जो हमारी वो जो हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करते भी हैं वो मल्टीप्लाई होकर हमें ही वापस मिलती है. So yeah, I think these are a few initiatives, and this is like a journey. We will continue to build and continue to develop our employees when it comes to financial well-being, because it's a huge main point.
And I think वो जो आपने बात की है give and take वाली बात हो जाती है कि when your employees know that they're safe and secure in in situations like these, so they're willing to put in their 100%.
Absolutely.
Now moving on to the fun bit of the conversation, which I've been waiting for since a very long time, and I think our viewers will also enjoy this. Lekin both of you as graduates, and like Hamna also said in the beginning, she applied जहाँ job opening मिलती थी बस मैंने apply कर दिया. And I think university kids and also graduates तो सही है, लेकिन university kids are also going through the same situation. Internship हो, job हो, कि बस resume बनाना है, CV बनाना है और बस डाल देना है. So how does one work on their self branding, and how does one ensure कि जो उनका CV या उनका resume है, it's like top notch, that they end up in good companies, for example, like Unilever?
First of all, the word self-branding is very good because we do want to be brands, we do want to be products, not commodities. I would want to talk about something which people underestimate as a tool is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very, very powerful tool. As a recruiter, I stalk my interviewees before I give them a call or before I appear for the interview. I definitely stalk them. And what do I look for? I go through everything that they post, that they repost, that they comment on. Because, if I'm hiring for a brand manager, just the designation or just the company that you're working in won't be impressive enough, right? Net brand manager same kaam karte hain. But what do you do which is special? What do you do which is different, which will make you stand out? I think is very, very important. So the content of LinkedIn, whatever I'm sharing, whatever I'm resharing, whatever I'm commenting, should speak for itself because it's a pitch, right? It is a 30 seconds or a 1 minute pitch while I'm stalking you, which says, do I want to meet this candidate or not, right? So I think that is very, very important, that whatever you stand for, that your profile speaks for it. If I am an advocate of, say, environmental sustainability, my profile should speak for it. The age of information processing is now visual. So LinkedIn is like the best way for me to figure out before I meet the candidate that what he or she stands for. And even for them, I think. As an employer also, I'm very conscious of what I'm posting on my Unilever Instagram official page, right? Graduates and undergraduates, if you ask me, a lot of people say we don't have experience because obviously you're not supposed to have corporate experience, right? But you do have societies like Radio Lumps, you do have projects, end of year projects you have. So talk about experiences, talk about what you learned out of them because you are a product of your experiences, right? So how do you showcase yourself through those experiences is the smart way to go about it.
So LinkedIn वाली बात पर I think अगर recruiter के लिए वो एक addictive चीज़ है ना, तो जो बच्चा बैठा है ना उस पर making their profile, I think उससे ज़्यादा addictive उसके लिए है.
For
because
sure.
Once you get into the game of making connections, so it becomes more addictive than any other social media app. So I think it's a really interesting thing if kids actually take LinkedIn seriously, because I know a lot of friends we'll be talking and they'll be like, अच्छा हमारा तो LinkedIn है ही नहीं. So I think it's something that people should actually explore and take very seriously because it's a very important social media platform that you can use for good. But yes, coming back to you, Hamna, resume, CV, profile, I'm very excited for this conversation.
So I think the correct way to answer this will be that I tell you the do's and don'ts of a resume, honestly, because it's very important, especially for a student. What I don't want to see, I'll touch upon the don'ts first because I want to end it on a positive note. So what I don't want to see as a recruiter, I don't want to see your profile picture on the resume. I don't want to see your exact address on the resume. I do want to see where you're from, like your city, of course, but I don't want to see your exact address on the resume. And I don't want to see like a 3 or 4 pager experience when you were just a student and you've just graduated. Sure, it matters, but then, save that for the interview bit. Now I'll talk about the do's of a resume. So the do's of a resume, honestly, एक resume नहीं होना चाहिए सबसे पहले तो ये important है. This I also learned the hard way because initially जब बहुत सारी rejections आई थी and then this one time that I just sent my resume, there was no cover letter, nothing else, and I just emailed it. It wasn't like a proper C-factor test होते and everything. It wasn't even that. और मैंने सिर्फ resume अपना email किया था और मुझे interview call आ गई थी. So I learned that the hard way. काफ़ी ज़्यादा आपको मुश्किल होती है undergrad के बाद. So do's is कि आपके एक resume नहीं होना चाहिए, know your target audience first. If you're applying for a supply chain role, your resume, your relevant courses, your certifications, your society experience, it should all align with what you're applying for, right? So it should be very tailored according to your audience. So it's very important. The next thing, very important, is if you're writing about your achievements, quantify that in your resume. So, don't just write like jargon words and everything. Try to quantify the impact that you really had. So your achievement should be really quantifiable rather just qualitative material on your resume, and make it very crisp. Just make it like one pager. I know काफ़ी मुश्किल होता है बच्चों को कि यार हमने तो 10 चीज़ें की नहीं है, and जितना ज़्यादा रेज्यूमे के ऊपर होगा मे बी उतना ज़्यादा ही अप्रिशिएट किया जाएगा. But honestly, when you were on our side of the table as a recruiter, आप किसी भी पोजीशन के लिए 500, 600, sometimes even more resume जब आप रिव्यू कर रहे होते हैं, you hardly give 30 seconds to a particular resume. And when you have just 30 seconds, तो उसमें जितना crisp होगा उतना I'll be impressed as a recruiter, and then I would want to know more, right? So you leave room for the recruiter to know more about you. अगर आप सब उसी में बता देंगे, then there's nothing. There's no mystery, right? When there's no mystery, I don't want to know you.
क्योंकि जब आप इंटरव्यू राउंड के लिए जाते हो तो they say mostly यही क्वेश्चन होता है कि tell me something interesting about yourself. That's not on your CV.
That's not on your CV.
And I think एक और चीज़ जो मुझे बहुत interesting लगी थी, I was doing an internship, तो उसमें we were going through CVs, और उसमें वो फिर से बात आ गई Gen Z वाली, लेकिन a lot of the new generation जो बिल्कुल अभी start करी अपना undergrad, they have this habit of making their CVs on Canva. Yeah. So they will do like an entire design वाली चीज़, and I'm like, this is not how you're supposed to do it, क्योंकि ये corporate world में नहीं चलता है. So they will try to make it all colorful, कि अच्छा artsy हो जाए. But this is also very like जो अभी बिल्कुल fresh start है. So I think उनको उस तरह की अभी वो मिल नहीं रही है guidance on how to kind of work their way on a CV and everything. So I hope this conversation is very enlightening for them. But just ending our conversation, and to add to our CV also, what is a must-have skill in HR? And if you guys have any tips, like just to succeed in this department, yeah, overall, so please.
I think for me, the must-have skill in HR is honestly social skills. So your people management, it should be really impressive. So you won't just like have it naturally. You will learn it, of course, eventually. Whatever role you're applying for, it's very important that you realize people management, stakeholder management, because किसी भी आप position के लिए जाते हैं ना, तो unless it's like behind the stage, आप companies के अंदर you're not behind the stage कभी भी, ठीक है? You're talking to people, you're managing them one way or another. Of course, your job might be different, but it involves people. It involves people every day. So social skills is the most important thing, and I think I'm trying to learn each day.
I think that Hamna is right about it, and just building on that, I think empathy. It's very, very important for you to be empathetic. And it's not necessary. I mean, people think HR can you have to be extroverts. You don't have to be extroverts, but you have to be truly empathetic and enough for them to be able to trust you, right? Because I don't have numbers as my KPI. So that trust quotient is really determining whether or not I'm a good HR leader or not, right? And then one thing which I spoke about earlier when you asked me what HR really is how well integrated you are with the business, right? You have to operate very, very close to where the business operates, right? So I think that sense, that business acumen, having that is extremely important. Otherwise, you won't do any good to the people who you're partnering with. So yes.
And like Zoha said, Zoha talked about the trust, but I'll just like to elaborate on that bit from an ER perspective. So with trust, it becomes even more important when you're working with blue-collar employees, of course. So again, social skill plus ये जो आपने सारी empathy वाली बात है, it becomes even more important when you're working in a factory and you're working in an environment where people are coming from very different backgrounds and different cultures.
Because I feel like university में आप फिर भी pick and choose कर लेते हो कि अच्छा मैंने इसके साथ hang out करना है. But once you're in like the real corporate world या जहाँ भी आप job कर रहे हो, you don't really have a choice. You have to interact with anyone and everyone that comes into your way, and you can be literally paired up with anyone.
Yeah, because it's only natural that you assimilate with your kind of people in university, school, college. It gives you that room and choice. Corporate के अंदर और किसी भी job के अंदर आपको वो room नहीं मिलता है. You have to assimilate with all sorts of people. So skill, it's very important.
100%, I agree, and I've had a very fun time hosting this, and I've learned so much. So hopefully now I'll go fix my CV.
I'll fix mine.
Thank you for tuning in, and I hope all of you had a fun time as well. Agli mulaqat tak. Allah Hafiz.